Coming up today, President Park Geun-hye will be accompanied by hundreds of bigwigs from Korea's corporate world when she travels to Iran this weekend for a 4-day state visit. The US Federal Reserve keeps its key interest rate unchanged and gives no hints on the timing of the next rate hike. Plus, Korea reports its second confirmed Zika infection in a 20-year-old man who recently returned from a trip to the Philippines. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Thursday, April 28th here in Seoul. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye will travel to Iran this Sunday, where she will be seeking out some lucrative business deals for Korea and also looking to open up a new horizon on the diplomatic front. With a preview of the president's state visit, here's our Song Ji-sun.
The last blue ocean of the Middle East. That's how Korea sees Iran in terms of business opportunities. The oil-rich country is expected to grow at an annual pace of 6% after sanctions were lifted in January this year. Korea is among the dozens of countries seeking to differentiate itself in the Iranian market and make the most of the abundant business potential there, in addition to normalizing bilateral trade relations.
We're seeking to bring trade and investment back to where it was before sanctions were imposed on Iran in order to create a new business boom in the Middle East. Another goal is for Korea to play a larger part in Iran's infrastructure projects as the country rebuilds its economy.
President Park will be joined by the largest business delegation to ever accompany her on an overseas trip. The group will attend a business forum and a market with local buyers. President Park will also be seeking to take diplomatic relations to the next level when she meets with President Hassan Rouhani. It will be their first summit since the two countries established diplomatic ties in 1962. The two leaders are expected to discuss a range of regional and global issues, including North Korea. President Park will also seek to diversify bilateral cooperation in areas like health, culture, and ICT.
Diplomatic relations between the two countries have been stalled due to the international sanctions on Iran, but this summit will help lay the groundwork for advancing bilateral relations and cooperation between them.
President Park is also arranging a meeting with Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, which could help set the stage for stronger ties between Seoul and Tehran. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
So, as we just heard from Ji-sun there, one of the main goals of President Park's visit to Iran will be re-establishing trade ties with that country. And for that reason, some of Korea's most important industry figures will be accompanying her in an effort to make the best impression possible. Our Kwon Jang-oh has the details.
A landmark deal led by the US was reached with Iran and the international community last year, opening roads and possibilities for Iran and other countries, including Korea. Iran was one of Korea's biggest trade partners in the region before the US-led sanctions came into effect in 2010. Under pressure from the international community, Korea limited its business with the Persian state and trade plunged over the years. Now that there is a chance to revive that connection, Korea is wasting no time by sending some of its biggest industry players. Top representatives from several branches of Samsung and Hyundai, such as Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motor, will be present, as well as the heads of both major Korean airlines, Korean Air and Asiana. Chairman of telecommunications giant SK and one of the richest men in Korea, Choi Tae-won, will also be attending, along with the CEO of POSCO, the world's fourth largest steelmaker. Altogether, representatives from 236 businesses, making up over 500 people, will accompany President Park in a visit to Iran. They will seek opportunities that come from a country with a population of 80 million people, the second largest in the Middle East after Egypt. And now that sanctions have been lifted, their GDP is expected to jump from less than 2% to almost 6% this year, and even further in the years ahead. Korea has been suffering from severe falling exports and slow growth, so re-establishing ties with an old trade partner is seen as a ready-made chance to help reinvigorate a deepening sluggish economy. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Now it appears North Korea is ready to conduct a fifth nuclear test at any time now. Seoul's intelligence chief says the regime is just waiting for Kim Jong-un to give the order. Park Ji-won reports.
Amid growing threats from North Korea, the National Assembly's Intelligence Committee held a meeting on Wednesday with the attendance of the nation's intelligence agency chief Lee Byung-ho. During a closed-door meeting that lasted about 2 hours, the NIS chief told lawmakers that the South Korean intelligence agency estimates that North Korea has already completed preparations for its fifth nuclear test, which could take place any time now.
Since the regime is already equipped with nuclear materials and a test site, another nuclear test wouldn't incur a lot of additional costs for North Korea. So the test is a matter of political judgment rather than being a matter of money.
Compared to a nuclear test, it is substantially more expensive to carry out a missile test for North Korea, such as a recently tested submarine-launched ballistic missile, because the North still lacks related technology and necessary components to successfully launch rockets. According to the NIS, international sanctions recently imposed on the North are already taking a toll on the regime, especially in shipping, tourism, and finance areas. Some 20 branches of North Korea's state-run restaurants in countries like China and the United Arab Emirates have closed down or suspended business indefinitely.
Individuals or groups listed on the sanctions are changing their names and forging export and import documents to smuggle banned products into North Korea. They are depending on diverse illegal means, such as accounts under false names or sending money by means of mules.
Regarding Pyongyang's upcoming Party Congress scheduled to take place on May 6th, the intelligence agency said North Korea has strengthened its control on its people since late February in preparation for the event. The tight grip has caused growing discontent among party officials and the general public, as they are either demanded to pay fees or forced to assume diverse service roles. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Now, the foreign ministers of South Korea and China sat down for talks in Beijing on Wednesday. Topping the agenda, North Korea's ongoing provocations, including that seemingly inevitable fifth nuclear test. Kim Min-ji has more.
North Korea's nuclear and missile threats stand as the most important and urgent issue between South Korea and China. That's what Seoul's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se stressed during bilateral talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Beijing on Wednesday. Tensions have been running high on the peninsula since Pyongyang conducted its fourth nuclear test earlier this year, as well as launching several missiles. On top of that, many in Seoul say a fifth nuclear test appears imminent, ahead of a rare party congress to take place early next month. Minister Yoon highlighted the importance of cooperation between the two countries to prevent the regime from carrying out a fifth nuclear test and stressed the need for stern action in case of further provocations. Wang said China will continue to closely cooperate and communicate with the international community so UN Security Council sanctions are thoroughly implemented. The bilateral talks, the 11th of its kind, come on the sidelines of the Conference on Interaction and Confidence-Building Measures in Asia. Minister Yoon will give a keynote speech on Thursday to call for closer cooperation from the 26 members of the forum in preventing further provocations from the north. It's the first time Seoul is sending its top diplomat to the event since South Korea became a member 10 years ago. Yoon will also sit down for talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on the same day. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
The US Federal Reserve has kept interest rates unchanged, citing the need to monitor the global economy and inflation. The Fed's Policy Setting Committee noted the US labor market had improved, but it decided to keep the rate in the range of 0.25% to 0.5%. It left the door open to a hike in June, implying that it was in no hurry to raise rates. The Fed said inflation was expected to remain low in the near term, but expressed confidence inflation would rise to its 2% target over the medium term. Some analysts think the first rate increase of 2016 will happen in September. Others say that unless there's a rate hike in June, there's a chance it would be pushed off until after the US presidential election. That would mean December 2016 at the earliest. And international oil prices rose about 3% in response to the Fed's rate freeze. On the New York Mercantile Exchange, West Texas Intermediate for June delivery finished trading at $45.33 a barrel, up $1.29 or 2.93%. And that's the highest price it's been so far this year. On London's ICE futures market, Brent crude for June delivery was trading at $47.35 a barrel, 3.5% higher than the previous day. Now, in some rather concerning health news, Korea has confirmed its second Zika infection in a man who recently visited the Philippines. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said Wednesday that a 20-year-old man tested positive for the virus. He was on vacation in the Philippines for 5 days starting April 10th and first showed symptoms of a cold last week. The center says the patient was bitten by a mosquito during his stay in the Philippines. Now, last month, a 43-year-old man was confirmed to have been infected with the disease after traveling to Brazil. Zika was first discovered in Africa and has since spread to other parts of the world, with Brazil being the hardest hit country thus far. And although not life-threatening, it can cause microcephaly in babies, defined by abnormally small heads and sometimes developmental problems. Well, that's pretty much all we have for now. I'm Mark Brew. Thank you as always for watching. Just a reminder that we will be bringing you comprehensive coverage of President Park Geun-hye's state visit to Iran. She leaves the country on Sunday. She'll be there for 4 days. So our correspondent will be travelling over to Tehran with the president, so we'll be having ongoing reports on all the business deals that are sealed over there, and hopefully the two countries can improve their bilateral ties a great deal during that historic visit for Korea and also Iran. Just another reminder as well that you can always follow us on our website, arirang.com/news. We also have our smartphone application, which is full of news as well as our latest programs. All our programs, be them entertainment, cultural, or history-based programs on Arirang TV. You can find that by just searching for Arirang TV in your app store. We'll be back with our next newscast. It's coming up at 10 a.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.